listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net, radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone 7/24/365, as well as the live show that we do Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight at www.xzoneradiotv.com. My first guest tonight is Coyote Chris Sutton. He is a shamanic practitioner, paranormal investigator, who began his spiritual journey some 23 years ago as a normal guy who found himself with one foot in this world and 1 foot into the world of spirit. Now, since then, he has been receiving teachings in the Lakota and the Sisi-Wis shamanic traditions, along with instruction in shamanism with English influences. Chris is a member of the Red Cedar Circle of Southwest Illinois, which follows the Sisi-Wis medicine tradition of the Northwest Coast, and this is the shamanic tradition that he follows closest. He has been trained in many aspects of the paranormal and psychic arts, including numerology, tarot, and dowsing. Chris began doing paranormal investigations in 1998, and he enjoys being able to help people who are having problems with negative paranormal events. Still a normal guy at heart, Chris lives in Godfrey, Illinois with his family, and has been in social services for many years, and still likes beer, sports, and wild turkey. Joining me now is Chris Sutton. And Chris, welcome to the X-Zone. I couldn't help but throwing that wild turkey in there, pal.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's great to be here. And yes, you couldn't leave the wild turkey alone. And like I always tell people, you know, like a lot of shamans are like holy men and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, this shamanic practitioner is just a normal guy, and I still do all the same things I did when I was growing up and became as a young adult. So a holy man I am not. So please don't. You know, there's a lot of people out there who follow certain paths and don't drink alcohol. And God bless them. You know, I'm all good with that. But you know, I just kept on being me, and everything works out pretty good.
You know, Chris, the way I look at it, I was raised as a Christian, and if Jesus drank wine with his meals, why shouldn't I? That's
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, Chris, tell me, what does a modern shaman do?
Well, it's hard to say. There's so many different. You know, the thing about shamanism is there's so many different paths to it.
Yeah.
Backgrounds and all sorts of things like that, teachings. So you got the European aspects of it, and you know, Tibetan aspects of it, which you know, Tibetan Buddhism is shamanism and Buddhism mixed together. But you know, I guess I can only speak for myself, really. I mean, other people do a lot of different things. Basically, what I do is, in my opinion, everybody's been given a gift. This is part of our medicine teachings, and this is Sisi-Wis medicine. Everybody's been given a gift, and you use that gift to help, first to heal yourself, and then to heal other people.
Right.
And so what I do is take that gift, and I expand it. I do a lot of spiritual type of work as far as spiritual advisement.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the tarot and stuff kind of falls into that. I'm not a fortune teller. I use that basically to help guide people in their life quest or life path, or whatever you want to call it. And then, so I use it that way. When you practice shamanism, you work with the spirits, and they help you with healing and with your divination. And then I kind of took it, and I also do the paranormal work, but what I tend to do with that is I use my shamanism training in that to help other people who are, like I said, having, like I put in my bio, they have problems with negative entities, but also to help the entities themselves if that's also necessary, because as the shamans, they deal with energy. You're dealing with spirits, you're dealing with energies on people's bodies and things like that. And when you go into the paranormal, it's a different type of spirit, but it's still the same energy and type of energy. So it's just taking it to kind of down a different path there.
All right, listen, you and I have to take a commercial break here. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Exo Nation, Coyote Chris Sutton is our special guest this hour. His website is coyotechris.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Love getting your emails, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And don't forget, starting March the 21st, the X Zone is going to be on the Mutual Broadcast Network from 3 in the afternoon until 7 at night Pacific. The X Zone is growing with you, the members of the X Zone Nation around this world and beyond. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My guest this hour is Coyote Chris Sutton. His website is coyotechris.com. And Coyote, I have to ask you this question. Where did you get the name? Where did you get the handle of Coyote?
That's a very common question and a good one. Why would somebody put that label on themselves? Because many of your listeners probably know, as you may know yourself, that Coyote's a trickster and he kind of gets into trouble all the time and that type of stuff, which that kind of fits me pretty well. I'm in trouble a lot, so it's just kind of the way it's been. I don't do things the right way. I tend to, I have to look before I leap before I look, and I run into walls and things like that. But how I got that was.
Are you still there, Coyote?
And so we have when you practice shamanism or any type of many of the paths, spiritual paths, you acquire spirit animals along the way.
Yeah.
And I started out with a hawk, was my first spirit animal, and that was when I was working. I'm doing more psychic work and learning that. Excuse me. And then the bear. I met the bear when I was working on doing healing work, and the bear medicine is what I use then. But I always knew there was one more going to come down the road, and it's sort of personified. It's like a personality part of me, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I knew one more was coming. I just couldn't figure out what it was and when it would come. And I was one day I was walking in a park in Kankakee, Illinois, where I used to live, and it's the Kankakee River runs along there, and there's a nice path back through there down to the river, with pretty high grass at the time. It was in the summer, and it was early in the morning. I was walking by myself, and all of a sudden I heard the brush kind of move, and all of a sudden out comes a coyote, and it stops and looks at me, and I stop and look at it, and we do that for about 10 seconds, and it kind of sniffs and went on. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't happen very often. They don't usually get close to people, and they don't. He heard me coming. I certainly wasn't being stealthy. And so he come out to take a look at me, and then went on about his business. Well, then after that, I was working at a metaphysical shop in the St. Louis area. I live very close. I live right across the river from St. Louis now, and some guy starts teasing me and says, "You're the Coyote," and I got this, and it just stopped me in my tracks. I got that. You get these chills down your spine when you know something important has happened, or that there's certain energy or medicine has come to you. And I got to think about that's it. That must be it. My thoughts went back to where I was walking on that path, and then how I go about doing medicine work, and how I do about going about living my life, as I tend to break eggs to make. I'll break too many eggs to make the omelet, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I just stuck. I said, well, that must be who I am. So I went ahead and adopted the moniker, and I include it with my name now. And Coyote, one thing about Coyote is, and one thing I try to do, they're not just tricksters, they're not just buffoons. They're also incredibly smart Alex, which I can be. But it's always in a way that is to teach, to help. And basically one of my jobs is to hold the mirror up to people and say, look for the real you. I meet so many people, in my walk in life, everyday life, who don't know who they are. And they're trying to find who they are, and they want to become somebody different. And they have such a hard time finding that. And part of my job is to help people realize that, whether it's through trickery or through sarcasm or just being straight up honest. Like, this isn't who you are. This is who you are, and you need to try to work towards that. And especially when people come to me, I need help, and well, here's your help. And whether I'm flipping tarot cards, I might do that. I might just sit there and look straight at them and say, "This is what I see." We may just sit and talk to the spirit, see what the spirit has to say, because they have their guides who they haven't met who will communicate with you and say, "Hey, wake this sucker up so I can do some work with him."
Sure.
And so, but basically, that's how I guide, is by giving that close physical contact, and I see them I see them constantly, and then somebody calling me that. It's also to let people know that I'm going to give you what people always want what they want. I give you what you need. That's how I work.
How did you get involved in shamanism, though? Where did that path come from?
I think it found me. This started back 23 years ago, I think. 24. Yeah, 23. My daughter's 24, so she's about a year old. We were living I was living in northern Illinois, and the National Powwow came to a little county in central Illinois, and at the fairgrounds. And my wife and I always blame my wife for all this. It's all her fault because she took me to this powwow.
Of course it is.
But,
Yeah.
Of course it is. I can't blame myself. But anyway, I can't forget the fact that Spirit put me where I needed to be, and I took me to where I needed to go. But anyway, so she goes, and she used to powwow dance when she was an explorer troop, Girl Scout troop here in the States, and she took me to. She said, "Oh, I want to go see the powwow, because this is good stuff." I said, "Okay." It was like the Nash one, so you had all these different tribes and all this different regalia, just a beautiful spectacle. And so I went to. I'm walking around, and I didn't know anything about this stuff. I mean, much about the Native American culture. I didn't know much about spirituality. I was raised in a Unitarian church,
Right.
which is very humanist and not given to that type of stuff. And so I wandered into a livestock barn where they were having a gourd dance, which is a warrior's dance. And this is where I realized I had 1 foot in this world, 1 foot in the world of spirit. And I was just, it's one of those defining moments in your life it's hard to describe, because to put words to it sort of takes away from it. But I just had that feeling, that not just feeling, that knowing in my heart that I needed to do something here. There's something was calling me, and I didn't, I wasn't sure what to do. So I went out. We walked around, did a bunch of other stuff. I went to the trade tables and whatnot, and picked up a book called Black Elk Speaks, which is about a Lakota Sioux shaman, and read that and said, "Wow, I've got, this is really cool stuff." And all the medicine work and that type of thing. I said, I got to learn more about this. And so a week or so later, I'm flipping through a monthly Aspectarian, which is a Chicago newspaper that has to talk about metaphysical and spiritual things and things like that. So somebody's having a pipe ceremony, so I call up. Can I come up? Yeah, sure, come on up. So I learned to smoke the pipe then, and that's where it started. And it just kept, I kept going places. I kept getting called places that another teacher would show up, and I learned my psychic stuff from a Mohegan Indian that lived in Chicago, and but I met some other guys who had these guys were just amazing medicine people, and they were taught by one of the greats, the guy named Frank Foolscrow, who lived on the reservation in South Dakota. I can't remember. I think was it the Glawa? I'm not sure, one of those towns in there. And so they taught me stuff, and that's basically how I got rolling into it. It kind of found me, And and they say, though, the student's ready, the teacher appears. And so I kind of cast out there to the spirit, to the universe, that I want to learn more about this stuff, and this is what I got. And so I've been kind of following those breadcrumbs ever since.
So tell me, what kind of help do you give people? What kind of help have you given people in the past?
Well, I've done psychic work, like I said. And that can include trying to find people or find things for people. I've done psychic readings to help people figure out, again, what their life path is, what they want to do with their life. And you get a lot of people that come up to you and say, especially if you got tarot cards in your hand, they want you to do fortune telling. They'll say, when am I going to find my soulmate? Well, then you have to break their hearts and say, listen, you're not going to find your soulmate until you do X, Y, and Z for yourself.
Right.
You heal yourself. So I tell people what they need, not what they always want, but always with the best intentions. So I've helped people in that sense, and have them come back to me later on and say, "You're right, thank you. I needed to do this and this." And I've done healing work with people for physical illnesses. I have also helped people who have had bad encounters with spirits and have that residual energy on them, and help them, get rid of that. Let's see. And sometimes just healing work just to get somebody rebalanced again. They need their energy gets messed up. It gets clogged up in certain places of their body. Because we live in a real stressful world. So what I found out, a lot of times, people will store energy on the back of their neck and their shoulder areas for some reason. That's where stress seems to go for a lot of the people I've worked with. And so breaking up that kind of thing and try to get them get them back on an energy equilibrium, but then talk to them at the same time and try to get them back to a mental equilibrium as well. I've spent so many years counseling people in social services and things like that, and that's really come in handy. So I can also, I'm pretty good at just sitting and talking to people, and so that's also a healing thing. You're just listening to people. There's so many people out there who have these little gifts that they can use, and certainly that's one of them. It seems like a very mundane gift, but it's a very powerful one. Just to be able to sit and listen actively to somebody and what their problems are can be so helpful. In the paranormal sense, I have helped people get rid of entities out of their house. And that includes, what you do there is like you do a cleansing. That's what I do, is a cleansing.
Right. Do you use sage?
Yep, use sage. I use a lot of stuff. I use sage. I can use sweetgrass. I can use cedar. Cedar's a nice smoke. It's kind of hard to get your hands on it sometimes, but I'm lucky to have a tree in my yard I can get into. But I predominantly use sage because it burns better and it's got that wholesome cleansing aspect to it. But then what I'll do then is I follow up with candlelight, and that's a Sissiwa's medicine tradition. The candlelight, and I think some other traditions as well, is bringing in the light of spirit, the pure light of spirit, the good stuff. And then, and that helps. So you've got it cleansed, and then you bring in the light in, which brings in, the good spirits, the good stuff, the good, the light of God. I mean, you could put it that way as well. And then sometimes I'll follow up with sweetgrass, which brings in good spirits that will help protect your house. Then we can sometimes what I'll do. And I always teach people, whenever I do this with people, I always teach them how to do it, so they're not calling me up all the time, because I want people to learn how to do it themselves. And it always makes it more powerful when you do it that way. So anyway, we clean the rooms, and then sometimes we'll seal off each room with black salt.
Hey, Coyote Chris, I hate to do this to you because we're on a roll, but I've got to take my news break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Exonation, Coyote Chris Sutton is our special guest, www.coyotechris.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Coyote Chris is our special guest. Chris Sutton is his name. His website is www.coyotechris.com. Chris, how do you access your spiritual power?
Well, we get most power comes from the earth and what flows around us. And I love the word qi. You know, it's a Taoist Chinese word, and to me, that's the energy that flows through all things. But basically, what we do, or I do, I shouldn't say we, I should say I. Obviously, our power comes from the earth and comes from spirit. What I am, I'm a vessel for that, and I open myself up, let it come through me, and then I let it call the shots. If you try to use your own energy, you'll burn yourself out and you'll make mistakes. When Spirit's talking to you, you're not thinking through your head so much. You're following what's in your heart, and it guides you. It guides you really well. Obviously, that takes a lot of practice to separate the two between your heart and your head. I had one teacher had a lovely saying. He goes, the brain is a wonderful tool, but it's a lousy master. It lies to you, and that is certainly true. And to me, and so there's a thing Frank Fool's Crow taught called becoming a hollow bone. And what you do, and this is an exercise that I'll do, it's almost like actually more like a ceremony. Mm-hmm. But as you breathe in and out deeply 7 times, then through the bottom of your feet, you bring in the energy of Mother Earth. So you feel that energy from her coming into you. And you let that swirl through your body and all around through you. And then when that gets going through your body, then to the top of your head, you bring in the energy of Father Sky. And let that come in. So you got the masculine and feminine balance there, mm-hmm. all running through you. So you let that run all through your body. And then you kind of take a self-check of yourself. Is there something that's, clogging the energy? If so, reach in and grab it. You need to be, if you're thinking about your grocery list or the fight you had with your spouse, then you've got to let that go. Make sure the energy is the number one thing that's flowing all through your body. When you've got everything flowing, you've got your mind where you're just totally focused on what you're doing. Then you think about somebody in your family that's very close to you that may need healing, and so you send out energy to them. And in your mind's eye, you see their face, and you send them energy. After you've done that for a little bit, you think of somebody in your town, your neighborhood, that might need some help or some energy, some healing, or something like that. Needs this healing energy to come to them, and so you send it. You see them in your face, in your mind. So you see their face in your mind, and you let that flow out towards them. And then after that, you think around the world and say, look at all the bad things happening all around the world, and you pick a spot and say it's the Middle East, someplace in the Middle East, and where people are suffering, and you send the energy out there. And after all this is rolling like this, and you've sent energy to people, you've brought in energy to heal yourself, you sent energy to heal other people, then you're ready to go. Then you've got your energy flowing. It's coming from spirit, mm-hmm. and then you can do psychic work, you can do healing work. I do this before I go into a paranormal investigation to make sure my energy's up and so I can deal with whatever I need to deal with.
Let me ask you, Chris, have you ever helped someone who was spiritually stricken during a paranormal investigation?
Yes, I have. That's funny as you asked that on my webpage, on the front page. Actually, a friend of mine, I was in Mineral Wells, Texas, at a Paracon down there. And a friend of mine, Alejandro Dominguez, who is the Dead Explorer on YouTube, and I'll plug him because he's a great guy. He's a friend of mine. He's got some really good videos on YouTube there under Dead Explorer.
It's all right. We're going to bill you for the ad.
Sorry about that. But he's a friend. Anyway.
So am I, and I'm still going to bill you for the ad.
Take it out of my check. Anyway, so we were up in there in this house, and and he was stricken there, and so he came outside. They got him outside, and so I kind of grabbed him because he was starting to wander around the parking lot like he didn't know where he was, and he had something had gotten into him, and had really dropped a lot of negative energy into him. And so what we did, we sat him down, and then I always bring my medicine bag with me, and got out some sage, and saged him off, cleansed him off really good, and sort of combed it out. And what I do is, I've got my energy flowing, like I just described earlier. And then I'm looking at him and, trying to pick out things where I can see it's affecting him, where some energy is still sticking. So we get the feather out. We start taking that out and using the sage at the same time, flipping that stuff out of there. And so then after we got him all cleaned out, he started coming around a little bit. I gave him a crystal to hold in his hand because his stomach was hurting. And so he grabbed that. I gave him that and had him put it up against his stomach where the pain was. And after that, I got the candle out, brushed him off, got some good clean spiritual energy into him, and then got him up, and we got the crystal back, and it was just red hot. What that does is suck out, some more of the bad stuff, the bad energy. And he was pretty good after that. He comes up and he's talking straight, and he says, he was really in distress there for a while. And but that is on my webpage. You can watch that video of me doing that. And I also did some singing, as I recall. See, I have to stop and think what I've done sometimes, because when Spirit's telling you what to do, you don't always remember, and you just kind of do what you just kind of run with what your instincts are telling you,
right.
What Spirit's telling you to do. And all of a sudden afterwards, you're like, whoa, I forgot what I did.
Listen, what do you keep in your medicine bag? Like you said, you had some sage, but what else do you carry as a medicine bag?
Let's see. Well, let me turn around and look here what I got tonight. It depends. Sometimes I put all sorts of different things in there. Today I've got my sage and with my abalone shell. Mm-hmm. I've got a turtle rattle. It's a turtle with a deer leg rattle on it. And then I keep tobacco, sweetgrass, candles, bunches of those. I tend to travel pretty light. I'm trying to think what else do I have in there. I keep some colored cloth, piece of colored cloth to make a circle with. Sometimes we want to make a safe circle that we can. And I've done that on paranormal investigation before, where I'll make safe circles so people can get in if they get freaked out, or they get scared, or if something's after them. So if they feel like something's after them, they can go in there. It's a safe spot for them. Sometimes I use little bundles of sage to make those. The pieces of cloth I have are all the medicine colors that I first learned, which is white, red, yellow, and black, those are Lakota colors. And I still use those to make my circles with. And let's see, sometimes I carry fetishes in there. I got a bear fetish I put in there sometimes. My dowsing rods are in there. I got tarot cards. Let me think.
Oh, it carries quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I got a big bag.
I see. Listen,
you just never know.
The abalone shell, what do you do with that?
Well, that's just to hold the sage.
Okay.
And so that way I can walk around without burning people's carpets up.
Oh, right. And the turtle rattle?
Sometimes that need to make that sound. Sometimes you can use them to call spirits. If you want somebody, you kind of a lot of times you want to make some noise to get them to hear you, not for negative spirits, but for your spirit guides and other spirit helpers to come and help you. And sometimes I'll use it, like if I'm doing a house cleansing, I'll use it to try to break negative energy up. So I might use the rattle first and hit it with the sage. That kind of breaks things up a little bit, makes some noise. And then I'll hit it with the sage, which makes it easier for that to clean out before I hit it with the candlelight. And so sometimes it makes things more complete. If things feel real oppressive, I'll use the rattle to get things broken up. If that doesn't work, I've got a big old bell I'll use sometimes too. Although I tend not to do that, it makes the devil's own noise itself.
And then if that doesn't work, you use a baseball bat.
If I have to, not that I do much good, but you feel better with it in your hand sometimes. Thankfully, I haven't come across anything yet that it's where I've been after I've done that, I haven't needed anything bigger. But you got part of that is when I go out and do this stuff, I don't want to say I'm confident, but I'm very sure. I am confident, but I'm really sure of what I'm doing, and I always hold that in my heart. I'm here to help, and I can get a lot of energy rolling, and so I don't tend to worry too much. Now, next time I might get knocked on my butt,
right?
But I'm very worried. I'm not the baddest dude in the valley, but I'm pretty confident what I'm doing, and you have to have confidence. if you're going to go do that stuff. If you're going there scared, you got problems, because they'll pick up on that. Negative spirits will pick up on that fear.
Has there ever been a time when you have felt that you might lose this spiritual fight because the spirit that you were up against was pretty powerful?
One time, and actually I was leading a tour in a local haunted mansion. And this place has normal family ghosts that are actually pretty nice. I mean, they usually do pretty well for the people that come in to see them. They seem to enjoy the attention. Now, one thing I've found in places like this that seem to attract haunts is that there's usually some type of energy source, if not necessarily a vortex or something like that, but it's something that has a lot of energy to it. Where I live, there's a lot of light. We live right on the Mississippi River, basically, and we're on top of these bluffs, and there's lots of limestone, and there's all sorts of energy in that type of stuff. And so there's some pretty big hot spots where I live. This place especially is very high up, one of the higher spots in town, long history of haunting. And so there's a lot of energy there. And that's kind of a side note. I kind of wonder, too, like there's a lot of these places I think were holy grounds for Native Americans, not because they're haunted with those spirits of Native Americans, but because they knew where to find those places, and that's where they would do their ceremonies and things. So I'm kind of wondering, too, if they're not, were also used for that, years and years ago. But what happened was we got these people here, and this is a good place. There's lots of energy. Every once in a while you get what I call transients, and they'll come to hot spots just because they're attracted to the energy. And this has happened. I've done tours of this place dozens of times, and a couple things came in once that I literally got a little bit edgy and kind of nervous about. And I'm always very confident that I can protect. I had like 20 people down there that can protect people, but I was a little bit nervous this time. But these are two big black things. They don't feel very good, and not outwardly, vicious, but certainly I believe had the ability to do so. But so what I did, I had another guy in there with me, and I gave him the heads up. So we just started moving energy around the circle. Everybody's sitting in a circle, and we started moving energy to the outside. Do it very quietly because you don't want to upset the guests. And we're able to keep them back, and they eventually, walked off. But I think if they wanted to make an issue of it, it could have got nasty. And so I always think back to that could have been one time that things could have gone south pretty quick because they did not feel good at all.
Well, what was it like doing your shamanic work with filming of the Dead Files Revisited?
I really had a good time doing that, and it was. And I asked them, well, how did you find me? And they said, well, we found a list of shamans in Illinois. It was at some website. It's like let's pick this guy. He looks like fun. And so they called me up, and so I said, yeah, I'll go. And so anyway, I go up this town in northern Illinois, Rock Island. And now when you're doing TV, it's not like what they told me is that you just do your thing. We'll just follow you. I said, well, that sounds fine. Go and do the cleansing and whatnot. And, well, first I get there. Well, we want you to do this. I said, well, okay. I told him, I'll discuss with you what if it gets too outlandish, I just won't do it. I'm not going to do that if it's too stupid looking. Well, we want you to go out back and and challenge these things out here, these spirits, which they were out there, okay. And so I said, all right. And so I go out there and I was drumming the four directions and stuff I would probably do anyway. But they want you to do things so it looks good on TV. So they wanted to film me walking down this hill. Well, the guy who lived there dumped all these leaves down there. It was kind of still cold out, and it was still some like damp and kind of frozen in there. And so I kept slipping.
I was going to say kind of slippy, yeah.
Yeah, I weighed about 50 pounds more than I do now. Yeah, so I have good balance anyway. So I'm kind of going down on one leg, and so they finally trashed that idea. And so it just didn't look so good. So I didn't look too too threatening that way. So so I go down there and I've got my drum and my staff with me. So and I had to drum to the four directions about 15 times because he had to get the sound right.
I can just hear the spirit saying, "What the hell is he trying to do? We're here, damn it!"
I know, exactly. And they're probably thinking, what's he doing? Oh, there's a TV show. That's what the deal is, you know. And so, and so we did that a few times. Finally got that. And, you know, and basically, I was there working for 3 hours straight and was on TV for like 5 minutes, maybe. But all I was doing, but it was a legit case. So you could feel what was going on. I talked to Amy Allen, not because she and Steve Shelby weren't there. They were. It was a Dead Files Revisited. So the revisited ones, they just kind of rehash some things from the first part, and then they show what they've done. And so I talked to Amy later about it. I saw her at Paracon. We got to chat for quite a while, and we had actually sensed the same things and didn't know it until I hadn't even seen the first show yet. And when I watched that, and Amy said the same thing I was saying, so I'm like, that was pretty cool. That was pretty legit. So it finally got back in the house, and I told them, you hurry up and wait, and we got to do this, we got to do that, and they're filming other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it was legit. I mean, they had two children who were still pretty young. Both of them were under 10, and both of them had skills, had talent, but they were getting messed with, and so I was really, I want to get this, I want to clean this house, I want to help these folks out. And so I'm going through the thing, and so you'd have to stop and do. Of course, the promise of we'll just follow you around did not come to pass, and when it came to this, and I didn't get. I think we started at 4 or 5, and I didn't get done until 11 o'clock. It was a school night, and I had to kind of hurry because the kids had to go to bed and that kind of stuff. And so I got it done, and I talked to the parents, the folks that lived there later, and they said that it was better, that they had got things under control. So that was good.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, it was
Chris, we've got to take our final break. Please stand by, buddy. Exonation,
Okay.
Chris Sutton is our guest. He goes by the name of Coyote Chris Sutton. His website is coyotechris.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Coyote Chris. He is a shaman. His website is www.coyotechris.com. First of all, Chris, great having you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing with us. If somebody listening tonight is interested in shamanism and they would like to become a shaman or learn what it would take to become a shaman, what advice do you have for them?
Well, my first advice would be to make sure that's exactly what you want, because it's not a walk in the park.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult, and you get pulled places. Sometimes you just don't want to go. However, if that's you're sure, because they say people who practice shamanism are called to it. Although I certainly don't mind it when people want to learn more about it. Probably the first thing to do is to look in your area and see if there's anybody who teaches that there, so they can maybe you can learn from somebody, see if there's spiritual groups and things like that. You can go online and see if there's any shamanic teachers in your area. I think if you just go on and to use a search engine and say shamanism or shamanism teacher or something like that, you could certainly find something that way. Or, there's books you can read. I mean, certainly it doesn't make you a shaman. You got to be trained by somebody. And there's so many different paths to take. And if you do ask somebody to teach you, you should always ask respectfully. You should always take that person a gift and let them know where your heart is. If it's something you want to do just for fun, don't do it. I'm telling you, it's not about, it is fun. It's fun for me, but I had to learn, you have to go through all this other stuff for it gets to this point. There are, like I said, there are books out there you can check out, just get an idea of it. You can look those up online. But basically, you should meditate. And every time I run into a spiritual base who's very spiritual based, tell me, you need to meditate more, and which is true. But you got to get to know yourself. A person who walks this medicine path knows themselves and you got to be honest with yourself and who you are. And if you need to make some changes, make some changes. You can't be selfish. It can't be about money, and there's not really money in it. It's about helping people. If you want to help people, and if you feel called to do it in this fashion, Spirit will put somebody or something in your way to make sure you get what you need as far as the training goes, or to learn more about it. And that's basically how it works. I mean, it's not like go to the technical college,
sure.
And do it like that. And that's what happened to me. I just put out to the universe, I want to learn more about this. And it wasn't even about shamanism then. It was about just learning about the spiritual thing that was going on. And that led me to down the shamanic path. So yeah, I mean, start, thinking to yourself, let out to the universe know, let the universe know this is what you want. Look and see if there's anybody in your area you can go and talk to and listen to about what's going on and about shamanism. There's a couple of organizations that teach classes around the country. You can look those up as well. And those, like I said, you do a shamanism search, and those guys will come up too. There's some pretty legit ones out there.
Hey, Chris, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, my friend. Keep the great work up. It's nice to know there are people out there like you who really care and want to make a difference in a person's life. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Rob. Loved it. Everybody out there, just, be strong and be safe and live to help others.
And drink wild turkey.
And have a wild turkey.
All right, Chris, take care. Exo Nation, Chris Sutton has been our guest this hour. www.coyotechris.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.